Go back at it. Um, Good to be here. I actually missed doing it this past week. So this week I'll probably be recording two, which is cool. Again, gonna reiterate, just want to be consistent with this and keep myself going, just like a commitment to an exercise goal or a health goal. I'm trying to commit myself to this task, really. And again, nothing, at least for the moment, no particular reason other than talk about things that are on my mind, that are interesting to me, put some things out there and see, who's been thinking about the same thing or who's interested in similar ideas and concepts is really the root of it for me. So here we go. On this one, I do have a couple things that I am, I guess, excited to share and talk about. One of them being patience, and then another one is related to this book that I'm reading called The Brothers Karamazov. I hope I'm saying that right. But it's by this guy named Fyodor Dostoevsky. But yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Real quick, just wanted to touch on the day and say that it was a rough one. This is Monday. Today is Halloween. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but the class was particularly rowdy today. The students that are especially rowdy were even more so today, and that's always a challenge. But you make it through the day, you find a way. It was rough though, I'm not gonna lie. It definitely tested me. It tested my patience, which is something I'll definitely touch on in a second. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow will be better. But yeah, might as well just get into it right now. My thoughts on patience recently, and I've been thinking about it in a couple different domains, if you will. So the first one being business. So I think I mentioned in one of the previous ones that I have a basketball training business that I'm just starting out, and it's just me. So that's been an endeavor recently. The other one that I wanted to talk about it with is, I guess you could say in life overall, patience, waiting for your time, right? Trusting that it will come, sticking to the grind, really. So I guess it's kind of related to the business thing, but then, again, just looking at life overall, what heights are you trying to reach? What kind of life are you trying to set up for yourself? Just realizing that it is going to be a process. And yeah, I'm sure along the way, other things may come up. Otherwise, I'll just talk about those two things. So the first one with business, again, having a basketball training business. So I should mention that I'm fairly new to this area. So this is the San Joaquin County 209, is what some people refer to it as. But I've been here since 2020, since May of 2020, right when the pandemic hit. At that time, I was living in LA, post graduating from UCLA, working at a nonprofit out there, which was kind of cool. And shout out to the Broad Center. Shout out to all the people that I met there. It was a good experience. But then the pandemic happened in the last year of my time there, and everybody started working from home. And I had made plans to move back with my family by the time my job was ending, because just quickly mention that the place that we were working, they were going to move locations. So by the end of 2020, everybody was either going to move with them or, have to find another job. So I knew that I was going to move back to this area anyways. And I would say, how long? It took me a year, obviously to get myself familiarized, and doing the basketball training had always been something that was on my mind. I want to say after graduating from UCLA, like, I was just thinking about all kinds of side hustles, to be honest, in addition to like my regular work, 9 to 5, whatever. Basketball was something that I thought would be pretty feasible, pretty fun, nice way to make, start a business and do something. So being at home with the family, not having to worry too much about rent, definitely gave me some time and opportunity to think about it, put some ideas together, put some things in writing, and really just go for it. And I guess that's it's a testament to who I am as a person. Like, I have a lot of different ideas and obviously don't act on all of them. But there are times where I'll just, I'll see a play, I'll see a move, and I'll just take it. And I think over time, and especially, and the other thing is listening to a lot of other people that, have done exceptional things in life. There's definitely an element of risk-taking involved, like calculated risk-taking, taking chances, being willing to shoot the shot, as my peers would probably be familiar with. Shoot your shot. Don't be afraid to do it. Take a chance. Obviously, don't put yourself in bad positions, right? But every now and then you have to be willing to shoot. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do it, see what happens, and see what I can do in a year, right? That was kind of that was going to be the evaluation point. Do it for a year, see what you can do, see who you can meet, how much money you can make, does it fit in your schedule, all this kind of stuff, right? And long story short, it worked out. It was slow, it was painful at first, but the first year was pretty cool. And man, I have this story, like, I'll never forget it. I don't know why, but it's just like, it felt like the beginning of my villain origin story. Like, everybody has that. Athletes, you're familiar with that. Like when a coach cuts you from a team because you weren't good enough, quote unquote, and then you meet them, at some point down the road in a big game or just in any game. Really, you're like, oh yeah, that's that coach that cut me, or that's that player that got the spot over me, whatever, right? There was this moment when I was passing out flyers. Like I was going around parks putting up these flyers, like training, woo woo. And there was a group of kids, maybe like 5, 6 of them, whatever, probably middle school, maybe high school, freshmen, whatever. I go up to them, offer them a flyer, and they're like, nah, just straight up, nah. They didn't even say anything else. And man, let me tell you, did I feel demoralized. I was like, shit, I'm not about to make it. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like, who the heck is gonna train basketball with me, right? I don't even look like a basketball player, to a casual eye, a blind eye, whatever. So that hurt. I was like, damn. But I picked myself back up, kept on going. Same day, met a dad and a son. They were out there shooting, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna walk up to them. I got flyers, let me just tell them what's up, right? And funny enough, that was my first person. Shout out to Sam, bro. Him and his dad trusted me, we spent pretty much a summer together trying to make his varsity team because he was going into his junior year. Long story short, he got injured, so he wasn't able to try out to the full extent, didn't make the team, but he's still hooping, so shout out to him, good for him. In any case, that all happened in the same day, and I just remember that moment because it was like, I really could have folded at that time. I could have been like, yeah, fuck it all. I got these flowers, but I can just throw them away and, not do this because these kids, they roasted the heck out of me, or it just felt like I got roasted. And I wouldn't be at this point today, which is crazy. But anyways, I think I probably said more than I should have, but that's okay because, that's the nature of these things. But what I was trying to say is about being patient, right? So recently, yes, here we go. This is what I was trying to set up. So me being new to this area, me being a brand new basketball trainer, and me not necessarily looking like one or having the resume of one, which is really interesting. I think people that have the resume, right, whether they've played college ball at any level, let's say D1 to D3, maybe NAIA, junior college, whatever, have played overseas, have that advantage, right? Like, obviously, they are competent and skilled in the sport. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it that far. So that definitely adds to their ability to pull in people and say, oh, yeah, like, this guy played overseas. I played in France. Woo, woo. Come train with me for $100 a session. But, yeah, that was an attempt at a joke. And that was at no one in particular. I kind of just made that up off the top of my head. But anywho, my point is, it's hard. It has been hard for somebody like me to insert myself into the space, really, and kind of make a name for myself, if you will, from the ground up. But that is something that I'm looking at as the challenge, the fun part of it, right? Like, it is because I don't have any context. Like I'm a brand new insert. Like, I just got plugged into this community. The world is my oyster, really. I can continue to do my own thing. I can continue to put myself out there. And at some point down the road, along this journey, I will come across someone or a group of people that have a similar vision, that have a similar training, basketball philosophy as I, because I'm sure there are. And we'll make some cool things happen. And until then, I'm just going to be super patient with this process, and it's something that I have to remind myself of, because, so here's another interesting thing that I've wanted to say for some time, is that I'm pretty, overall in my personal life, I'm pretty social media averse, at least in these times, for a variety of reasons. One of them, I just like, these days I just prefer to be incognito. My line is always open, which is the interesting part of that. If anybody ever reaches out, I'll definitely get back to them within a reasonable time. I'm not like a, text me, you'll hear from me like 3 months later type of person. So my line is always usually pretty open, but I am pretty incognito, off the radar as much as I can be. So, but I realize that having a basketball business, I've probably said this before, it sounds like I've said this before, but having a basketball business, I realize that I have to have a social media presence just so, I can gain a following, put myself out there, people can share stuff, etc., right? Meet people, connect, network, all of the above. So, why did I bring that up? Dang it. I'm pretty social media averse. Oh yeah, I'm pretty social media adverse, but what I see a lot on social media is other people, and there you have it, is me, the typical situation, right? Like, you're comparing where you're at to where somebody else is at, and they have all the success, right? In my context, they're winning championships, they are getting all the good kids, right? All the talented athletes, they are at the good high schools, they're running camps, they got HD videos on Instagram, 4K, 1080p, whatever it is. They got cool effects, cool graphics, cool edits. Yeah, and here I am, little old me, feeling inferior. And I think we've all probably experienced this to some extent, and probably normal to compare. So I've definitely been resisting that urge as much as possible. And here we go, to kind of cap this one off, is reminding myself to be patient with this process. It's not always easy, right? You do want your time to shine. I think we all do. But for me, I also understand and respect that most things are a grind. I get that. And for my athletes, if there are any athletes out there, or really anybody that, either went to university or played like on a sports team. So in high school, most people don't get to play on varsity until their junior or senior year, unless you're really exceptional. Right? Like playing like serious, being like a key part of the team. In university, you don't graduate until 4 years, so whatever field of study you decide to go down, you have to put in a lot of classes to ultimately get that degree. So I'm trying to remind myself of that when it comes to this business thing. Like, I'm only I started 2021, April 2021, so I'm only a year and 7 months in, which, man, it honestly feels like it's been a long time, but then it hasn't really been at all. So it's cool and exciting, because I have been able to accomplish quite a bit in this time. I've met a lot of different people. A lot of people have met me. It's like, hey, you're that Big Dreamers basketball guy, yeah? So that's been cool. So I look forward to it, and once again, reminding myself to be patient with all of it. And then I guess I can just, because I mentioned it, I should just quickly say, like, in overall life, I do have a lot of goals for myself. I am pretty ambitious in the life that I am trying to set up, although I don't have like a crystal clear destination. So, I don't know, some people will say that you need a goal, like a clear goal. For me, I've never really had that. It's more so just like continuing to elevate myself as much as possible. And I think I did mention this in one of the previous ones, is really just seeing what my ceiling is. Like, what are the limits of my capabilities right now? But although those are, you could say, ambitious goals, in actuality, I'm stumbling a lot. I get lazy, I get tired, I get irritated. There are things that I could do to be more efficient, more productive, but I don't. So I am flawed. But that is a part of being human. And I realize that. So I'm still holding myself to as high of a standard as I can, but I'm also giving myself grace and patience that your time will come if you just keep chipping away at it. So, and maybe that doesn't even have to be the goal. Like, when the time has come, like maybe the whole thing, right? Again, journey, not the destination, eh? But yeah, I guess I've been thinking about that a lot, just because, I'm kind of in that age. I guess you could also say overall, like, my peers, it's a pretty broad, diverse group of peers that I have. Being from San Jose, I went to Gunderson High School in San Jose. I went to school in LA, met a lot of different people over there, now live in Manteca. So it is quite interesting to see like what is possible in life, the different routes you can take, jobs, pursuits, all that kind of stuff. And even there, you can kind of get caught up in the comparison game. Like, damn, they're making that much money. They got that job. They're doing that. Woo, woo, woo. Super cool. But I think, one thing that I've always reminded myself is that we're all unique. Obviously, we all have our own journeys to take. We all develop differently. So, be patient with whatever your goals are, with whatever you're trying to achieve. And again, set up your life as. Be patient with that. Be ambitious, and have the discipline and the work ethic to make that happen. But then also be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace and ask yourself, like, am I working towards it most of the time? Am I doing what I need to be doing most of the time? And I'll just quickly shout out, I got that from this podcast, Modern Wisdom, Chris Williamson, and Ryan Holiday, the writer. He has his own podcast and Instagram account called The Daily Stoic. He's been a big advocate of the Stoic philosophy over the past few years. So they were talking about discipline, and they were saying how the Stoics obviously advocated and encouraged people to be disciplined in their day-to-day. But then also recognize that we are human and we are flawed, and like I mentioned, like, we get irritated, we get lazy, we get sleepy, we don't want to do stuff sometimes, we're emotional, whatever. So just remember that and give yourself that patience. I guess I'll just quickly mention it again because I did bring it up. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. So I'm about 140 pages in. I want to say there's like 700, 800. But so far so good, man. I won't get into too much of the details of what the book is. I'll just speak on it broadly, and I'll just speak on Dostoevsky's writing broadly. I'm a huge fan for a couple reasons. One being his ability to just describe human nature and human interaction and paint it with such vivid colors through his writing is pretty powerful. I think I'm especially attuned to how people interact with each other. Like, I'm a people watcher, right? And I can sense when people are feeling some type of way, or they're getting agitated, or they're getting annoyed, or you pay attention to tone and body language and eye movement, hand movement. So when a writer is able to express that and convey that through the writing, like, I immediately become fascinated, because you can really, and I always tell it to people, like, good writing, it's, what is it, a cliche, whatever. Good writing, or at least my teachers would always tell me this growing up in school, that good writing will paint the picture in your head, right? An image will come up based off of what you're reading. And I definitely feel that when I'm reading Dostoevsky. And I guess, yeah, that the second point was very related to that, so I'll just leave it at that. Like, his ability to, I guess one specifically is to communicate the human condition, right? Like, a lot of the plot is about, all the things that make up humans. Lying, shame, guilt, camaraderie, honesty, family, society, philosophy, religion, like, all of this is captured obviously in the context of 17th century Russia, but the human nature aspect of it it's very relatable, because you could say that we haven't changed much, and human nature has, it takes a while to change that kind of stuff, so we're not that much different. And then the second point being specifically, like, the ability to convey that through the writing, specifically the word choice, the length of descriptions of somebody. Like, he'll use one or two sentences to describe somebody's face, right? Or maybe even more. So Dostoevsky, Brothers Karamazov, so far so good. And chipping away at it. It's a long book, so I'll probably, have thoughts to share on it here and there, but so far so good. And I'll just quickly mention a couple podcasts that have stood out to me. Lex Fridman, Kanye West, man, what a time. Obviously, I'm sure you've heard Kanye West in the news plenty, everywhere, in the past week or two. I won't touch upon that too much at the moment, because I think that deserves its own time, if you will. But shout out to Kanye for going on to Lex, and shout out to Lex for having him on, man. Like, again, I mentioned in my first recording that podcasts is the new frontier, really. It seems like, if you want it to be, the new frontier for education and insight and learning and conversation. So for that conversation to happen at this time, just a week ago, this past Monday, it's pretty, I don't know, maybe this is hyperbolic, but it's pretty profound. It's pretty transformative. An event of a lifetime, in my opinion. Like, let's be honest. Everybody talks about Kanye West. When his name comes up in the news, like, probably 80% of people know what's going on with him. He's one of those things. It really just has become that over the past, 10 years, whatever. Lex Fridman being a huge voice in the podcast game, all kinds of people, to have Kanye on, despite all the noise, again, it's just really something, in my opinion. So shout out to the both of them for doing that. Anywho, I already mentioned another podcast, Chris Williamson, Ryan Holiday. Another one that I listened to yesterday that I think a lot of people, I think it's worth checking out, although, may not be for everybody. I'll just use that as my caveat, may not be for everybody. But again, Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson. He had on Carole Hooven. not a doctor, professor. I can't remember, so my apologies. But she's some professor of some sort of medical field at Harvard, and she wrote a book, I want to say, that's called T for Testosterone. And they talked about sex differences. They talked about how young men and men in general are viewed in society these days, particularly the West. Gender dysphoria, transitioning, what is testosterone, the effects of testosterone, which I think is quite relevant to the times, and I think is important information for people to have for a variety of reasons. But it was good. I thought they had a good conversation. It was lighthearted, even though the topic is pretty serious, and it's hopeful. It's hopeful that I think, for me personally, I will at some point touch upon this topic in full depth as much as I can, because it has been something that has been on my mind a lot. And I'll just say, broadly speaking, it's like this. It's the ideas of the progressive left, or what the progressive left has become, what it is today. DEI advocates, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the anti-racists, all that group. Although it's a variety, right? That was a very umbrella description, but I know that there are subgroups within all of this. But I think they're all, again, under the same sort of umbrella. And my journey with that is quite interesting, and I do look forward to touching upon that. So hopefully sometime in the next few recordings. But that was another podcast that I thought was really cool. And then what I'm listening to today, I'll cap it off with this, which has been pretty good so far, is Lex Fridman and Andrzej Karpathy. So apparently a really big name in artificial intelligence, former head of artificial intelligence at Tesla. But they've been having a really good conversation so far. I'm pretty geeked out when it comes to Tesla stuff. Really interested in it from a technology perspective. Even though I don't have a very strong technical background, hearing people talk about it is really interesting. And again, if you're exceptional at something, I'm happy to listen and see how you think about issues and problems and problem solving and all these kinds of things, right? Productivity, yada, yada, yada. And they actually do get into that, right? A lot of what, I could go on and on. This is like an engineering, science-based thing, right? And if you're familiar with Elon Musk, you'll know that a lot of his philosophy, a lot of his thinking is based off of first principles, right? How can we think about this from the very beginning without any preconceived ideas, notions, right? And what is it? What are we trying to accomplish here? What do we need to build? What are the parts? Can we make it? Do we need to buy it? Yada, 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 right? All these really cool questions. And although they don't have a direct transfer into life, again, it's a mode of thinking that could benefit some people. So really interesting to hear about artificial intelligence, self-driving cars. I'm about halfway in, so I've got, actually 2/3 in, so I've got an hour left. I'll just quickly say, it really is quite something that I'm binging all these podcasts, because they are 2-3 hours long. I don't know what that says about me, but they're really fun and educational. I'm learning a lot, and it gives me something to spend time with, so that I'm not just on my own. I'm a fly in the wall these days. But Lex Fridman, Andrzej Karpathy, go check it out. If you made it this far, shoot me a message. Let me know what you think. If any of this is interesting to you, again, holla at me, man. I'm open to conversation. I like talking about different things. I like hearing from other people. And there we have it. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.